All right. Once again, everyone, welcome to our presentation on cover letters. I am glad that you're able to join us today, and we'll cover some good ground. I think this will be more of a general overview of what cover letters are, how they're used, formatting, things of that sort, but also give you a chance at the end of the presentation to ask any questions if you have them during our time today. So as an overview, like I said, we will cover what is a cover letter? What's the purpose for today? The business format that's best used when you're writing a cover letter. We'll go paragraph by paragraph just to give you an example of what they look like. And then maybe some things to keep in mind as you're putting your own personalized cover letter together. So a cover letter is basically a complement to your resume. It's just a kind of a partner document that tells more of your story. Why are you choosing this particular company? Why are you going in this particular direction in your job search? If you're IT and you're looking for a software engineering role or software development role, it's a chance for you to talk more about why you believe you're qualified for this front end or back end developer or full stack. You need it to be personalized. You need it to be focused to the specific industry and job that you're applying to. Otherwise, if it's too generic, it just looks like it's a generic letter and it doesn't really say much of anything except you're looking for a job. So a good one-page document is a narrative that explains, again, why you're choosing the particular company, giving some examples of why you believe you would be a good fit for that particular job based on your experiences, and highlighting maybe some other motivations that can make you a strong candidate for the position. It could be why you are aligned to that particular company's mission and vision. Obviously, you're going to want to do research to see more deeply into that company background, and then bringing it together by aligning your personality and values to the company. Now, the purpose of a cover letter is not just to rehash your resume. A cover letter is much more conversational, so we can highlight not only your academic background, if obviously they are looking for a bachelor's degree or a master's background, or maybe specific coursework that makes you more aligned to that particular job. It also can talk about your professional and personal qualifications for the position. Um, Not just restating your resume, because otherwise, why would you need two documents to say the same thing? So the difference between a resume and the cover letter is that, as I said before, the cover letter is more conversational. The resume is more, let's say, data. It's more, here's my academic background, my work history, some maybe specific qualifications if they are business related, if they're technology related, if they're related to the industry that you're applying to, maybe some projects, so you're listing those and you're stating those on your resume, but the cover letter is not saying what you can do, but how you can do it. You're letting the employer know that qualified, unique background that you could bring related to your relative or transferable skills to that particular job. And then again, that real proactive statement is saying, I know you didn't ask for a cover letter. Cover letters are not always required, but I'm taking that extra step to give you and provide a document that introduces me as a person, not just as a number or an applicant. So what makes a cover letter compelling is that first, I'm going to switch these and say the first part of your cover letter at the top of the document, you want to state why them. You don't want to jump right into, I'm looking for a position, I'm applying to this job. here's my background. You want to say, I'm applying to this job because this is what I know about your company that caught my eye and my attention. I want to be able to include some keywords and maybe a sentence or two about the organization. So, hence why I need to research, look at LinkedIn, look at Handshake. If the company is on our Handshake page for you to access, how do they talk about themselves? What is it that they say why you should work for us? And if you agree with that, obviously, incorporate some of that language into your cover letter. Then go into talking about why you. Why do you believe you are a good candidate for the position? I would avoid using hyper emotional language like, I am the best person for this job. You don't know you're the best person for the job. There could be somebody better. So tone it down a little bit and say, here's why I believe I'm a strong candidate for the position, A, B, C, and D. Give them some examples of that. What do you bring to the organization? How can you add value to the position that you're hiring for? How can you make those connections so that the employer is just as interested in you as you're interested in them? So let's look at 3 connections that your cover letter can make. Again, you're showing how you can connect to their brand. So you want to know who they are. What is their brand? What's your brand? Did you know that on our homepage for career and professional development, we have some resources to explore what your personal and professional brand is? Let me give you a link for you to find that, because that could be something that's your next step when it comes to creating your resume, and that could be very helpful. So one quick moment here. I want to put this in the chat so you can see it. This is a link to building your brand from our homepage. And this could be used in other elements. This could be used in your interview. It could be used creating your own LinkedIn page, or if you need to enhance your Handshake page. Hopefully you all have your Handshake account fully completed and filled out, because that's the way the system will get you the jobs and suggestions of activities, is by having it completely filled out. Incorporate some of your brand keywords can be helpful too. The other connection is, again, letting them know how you can bring specific values that can help with their competitors. You know, tell them how you came to learn about who they are and the special mission perhaps that they're on, that you're aligned with. And then demonstrate that. Give them some examples on our cover letter page, where if you were going to look for any templates, for example, you can use that to, I'm putting that link in here too, to our cover letters. There are 2 examples we have. One is a typical business block type of example. The other has one example that includes bullet points in the center of the page that can highlight maybe some specific focused examples of what you bring to the company. Now, here's the business of the block format that I spoke about a moment ago. So if you look at this, very straightforward, no bells and whistles. You don't need sprinkles and, color. What makes it compelling is the professional look and feel of the document itself. So at the top, you want to obviously start with your name. Now, one thing I usually say is, when you're looking, because this is a complement to your resume, why not make the top of both your resume and cover letter the very same? Same font, same position on the page, same format of your name, contact information, city and state, LinkedIn URL, so that when you have them side by side, it looks like stationery. That can add a really good professional edge to both documents. Then you can have the date that you're going to send it. And then after that, you can have the company's name, the address, or the at least city and state of the company. Now here we have the hiring manager's name. You may not know who that is, so that's okay. That's optional. But branding it and stamping it with the company name and contact information is, makes a better impression than just a generic letter that looks too general to send out. Then after that, if you see that RE colon in the job title, that again adds to the branding of the document, making it clear that you're applying to this specific role. And then let's just say, dear hiring manager. And then your opening paragraph states again, you may begin stating it for, what you're applying for, how you found the position, but then go into what you know about the company, what you know about the role that you're applying to. And then the body of the cover letter will be more specific about what do you bring that makes you qualified for the position. And then your closing and final paragraphs is kind of wrapping it together, or wrapping it up, bringing it all together. What you want to make sure during that final and the closing of your cover letter, and this sounds like it's splitting hairs, but listen to this part. Don't ask for an interview. That may sound like, what? What did he say? Let them ask you for the interview. What you can say is, I'm available for more information. I am happy to be, able to answer any questions. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, and your name. It's just a little presumptuous that they're going, that, it's like, hey, I want to talk to you about scheduling an interview, but you want to give them the permission, or them the opportunity to invite you to the interview, not inviting yourself to the interview. I've had many hiring managers and companies just kind of raise their eyebrows to say, well, don't they think there's somebody inviting themselves to the interview, when that's really our job? If we think that you're worthy for that, we'll send out an invitation for that based on your credentials and your background. Again, might be splitting hairs, might not make a lot of sense at times, but since I've heard it many times from companies, I always like to pass that on to folks who are job searching. Now here's the paragraph by paragraph, just restating a little bit of what we already said. That opening paragraph, again, you're highlighting who they are as a company, maybe your academic information. If you're a job changer and you're pivoting to a different industry, then maybe that opening paragraph that talks about yourself and how you align to the company would also include your academic background, so that you're not relying or leveraging your work history if it's not relevant, but now you want to leverage your academic projects you've worked on, things of that sort, to align that to the job description. And then again, maybe those transferable skills, those soft skills and characteristics, that could be part of the qualifications, highlighting interests only if it's relevant to the job. Don't go into your hobbies and things like that, but mostly, again, those areas that are more particular to the organization. Now, Peggy put in a good question that might fit at this part is, should you use the cover letter to explain a gap in your work history? I would shy away from this a little bit, depending on what the gap is. So if it's a gap that and I've had students say this, so I'm going to use these examples. If you were traveling, if you were in school, and there showed a gap of a year or two, that could be there. If you're taking care of family or your own illness and it just took time for you to recover, that was more prominent during the pandemic. Sometimes that could be done in a quicker way, just simply on your resume. So wherever that gap is on the timeline of your resume, you could put pursuing Bachelor's of Science in Accounting, Western Governors University, date to date. Leave the cover letter for more of telling your story of why you're a good qualified candidate versus why you weren't working during a particular time. So I hope that helps. Might sound a little awkward, but we can work with it and maybe give you some further tips down the road. So our last paragraph here is to conclude, again, reaffirming your qualifications and your interest in the position, and then to offer a follow-up if they need more information. You're available at any time at their convenience, and then ending your letter formally, sincerely, Cliff Guerin, the end. And that's all you need to put. All right. Now we're in the age of AI and ChatGPT. It's okay to use AI and ChatGPT formats, or not formats, but forums, to be able to do some prompts to give an example of what a cover letter could include. If you're a little stuck on writing it, if you have writer's block, it's fine to be able to use these platforms, not to be the end product, but to get you started. Give you some starters, give you some inspiration, then take the ChatGPT version and then put it in your own voice, make it your own documents. But now you've got at least a starting point to get the ball rolling. What I put here are two links to one article from JobScan, which talks about how to use these platforms to write cover letters, and there are also some examples. And I also found a good article in LinkedIn, on writing a cover letter, and it gives you some AI prompts. Because as you know, ChatGPT and AI platforms, you want to give prompts such as uploading the job description and then saying, write a one-page cover letter which highlights the specific keywords of the position, and then let it write that. Now, if it's too long, you can go back and you can say, make this letter more concise by including my resume, and then upload your resume and just keep working at it. Keep working at it. These two articles will walk you through that process and walk you through some examples on how to use it. And I think that you'll find it very helpful. Now, the things to remember, again, those themes of when you write a draft of your cover letter, step back, look at the document, and does it cover the question at the top, why them? And then the middle of the cover letter is why you. Does that flow well? Are you using those transitional sentences to make the flow easy? Again, if you don't know, you're not concerned, we obviously do cover letter reviews, and we're very happy to be able to offer that service if you need another set of eyes to look at your cover letter. You're highlighting your experiences to showcase why you are a good candidate. I put best candidate. I know before I said don't use that word, but you get the point. Why you're a good candidate, why you believe that you're a strong candidate for this position, to emphasize your interest in the organization. And then the style, you want to keep it professional. You want to keep it in that business block type of formatting. If you include bullet points in the center, you're not breaking the format. That still looks very professional. As far as length, you really want to keep it to one page. You don't want to just go on and on to a page and a half or even 2 pages. It should be concise. It should be very brief. It's an introduction to your resume, maybe 3 to 5, or 3 to 4 brief paragraphs. Typically 3 is a good number to go for, keeping it to that 1-page count. And then I would say, as I mentioned earlier, as far as consistency, that the font is the same as your resume. That top heading of your name and contact information can be the same for both documents. That just gives it some consistency and that professionalism. How to stand out? Make sure you tailor your resume to each individual job. If it's too much of a generic sounding cover letter, it's like junk mail that you get in the mail. When I get something that says Dear Resident, I don't even open it. I just throw it in the trash. If it says Dear Cliff Guerin or it has Cliff Guerin in my address, even though I know this is going to be junk mail, it's got my name on it. So I'm going to at least look at it to see if it might interest me. Sometimes they do. So tailoring and customizing your cover letter to each individual company and job will give you that kind of standout notice. Now, here is a time that you all can ask questions. I know this is quick. As I said, a quick briefing on today's cover letters. Employers don't always ask for them. You're not going to find them probably on the job description. But from the recruiters I've talked to, they have said if you took the time to write a cover letter, they're probably going to read it or at least skim it for more information that your resume may not cover. And that could tip the scales to you getting an invitation to an interview, which I've also heard that has happened. So that's a good idea, is to include a cover letter with your application materials. But please, in the chat, if you want to jot down a question or two, I'd be glad. If you have something specific, what brought you to this presentation? Was there something that you were hoping to hear that maybe we could talk live about? I'm glad to be here and help you do that. If you need to hop off, I will thank you in advance for joining us. You can see on our homepage for our careers and professional development that we have right on the landing page. We have upcoming events for our Career Quest. You're probably getting those in your email as well. So that Career Quest events will cover other workshops. Just a little brief commercial. But in any way, if you have questions, I will hang out for a little bit and let you throw those in the chat now. Good question, Lauren. As a career changer, how can I show I'm uniquely qualified for an entry-level role or internship? What I advise is when you find those roles or internships, look at the job description and literally you can highlight any of the skills or qualifications that you believe you have and make you say, hey, I could do this job. I believe I could be a good candidate for this position. Then in the cover letter, you could simply say that, I am, from the time I worked at ABC Company as a XYZ professional, I believe I bring the, transferable skills of X, Y, and Z that match your qualifications for the position. So you're literally writing that out to say, from my previous role with the following skills, I believe that I would make a good candidate for this position as you're asking for ABC skills as well. So you're drawing those connecting dots for them to see. I hope that helps. It's like the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, in this case, you're leading a horse to water and you're making them drink by telling them exactly how your past experience is in alignment to their current needs. Right. Good question, Lauren. Thank you for that. Yeah, no colors at all. No colors, no images, no logos, just the formatting, the kind of font that you use. Make sure your fonts are basic fonts. They're typical fonts. They're not anything fancy. I would stick with Calibri or Arial. Verdana is a good one. Times is good. You can even Google, resume fonts. for example, and then just use the fonts for both documents. All right. Anything else? Yeah, cover letters are pretty straightforward. I think the top questions I get, some of the ones that you've asked here today, but also, and I thought this was a good tip. How can you get the employers to read your cover letter if they're not asking for a cover letter? What I've seen some students do is that they will they'll write the first page as the cover letter, and then they'll continue the same document and do the resume after the cover letter. So it's one document, one file that you upload, but it starts with your cover letter and then continues with your resume. That way, when they open the file, they've got to look at your cover letter. Unless they just pass it by, but it's the first thing that opens up, so they're probably going to read it. Another question is with applicant tracking systems. So when those ATS scan your resume, for example, for keywords, it will do the same for the cover letter. And it's okay to, if you're using the same or similar keywords, that match rate from the applicant tracking system, it's saying, hey, you're repeating and giving me all of the different keywords we need for the job description, which tells me you're bumping up your grade level, so to speak, because we're reading it more and more, which that match rate goes up, and that's what you want to try to do. Yeah, I'd say, Peggy, that's a good question. To make your handshake profile stand out is, first of all, you want to make it as complete as possible, each section as much as you can. Make sure you have a good professional picture, just like your LinkedIn profile. My sister works for a top advertising company here in North Texas, and she actually travels the country. And when she looks at LinkedIn profiles, she's told me if there's no picture, it's incomplete, and she just goes on to the next candidate. So you don't want that to happen with your handshake profile as well. On your handshake, when you scroll down and to the right, you're going to get skills, your skills section. Sometimes Handshake will auto-populate skills on there. Take out the skills that are not relevant to what you're looking for. So if you don't want a customer service job or sales or insurance sales or something that's like definitely not in your wheelhouse, take those out and put in what you do want. And you can put those in yourself manually. So that's another good reason to have the job description, so you can see how do you align to that job, put those skill set, those skill words in there. Make sure your resume is reviewed and ready to go, and then uploading your resume to Handshake. Those algorithms that are used by recruiters, and when you're doing a job search, all of these little pieces are going to add together and be very, very useful as one unified unit, if you will, as part of your profile. A lot of folks don't really take all of this into consideration. They just think, well, if I have a handshake, it's just going to work by itself. But it doesn't. We got to work with it. We got to add these little pieces to make it optimized and as strong as possible. So that's how both your handshake and your LinkedIn profile can stand out. Also, using hashtags if you on both. So if you're in cybersecurity, for example, you can use hashtags. Let's see, Python, let's say something like that. If you're in HR, you could put recruiter, you put HR, spell professional, things like that. MBA, use them as hashtags because those same algorithm principles will work with these hashtags on LinkedIn and Handshake, as well as other platforms you may be using. Don't put them on cover letter or your resume, save them for your online profiles. Other questions, other concerns? If you joined us a little late, this is being recorded and I will be sending the recording out. Everyone should be able to see these slides when that is all done. If it's not today, it can be tomorrow. So I will send them out to everybody who has registered. All right, you are all so very welcome. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go ahead and turn the recording off.